Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Gagan Thakur. So in this video, as you see in the element pen, we have lot many elements. I don't want to cover all of them. I think I covered the important ones. Now the few things which are left will definitely cover, but I just want to give you an overview of the remaining element. Okay, so what I did is I created a new page. Okay, so you just simply right click here and say new page. You can actually change the name also, so I just say rename and you can give a meaningful name to this. Okay, so in the page 2 you'll see that I have put in this elements in here. So ideally if you I'll show you, if you put an element here. Okay, and if you try to and if I save this and if I try to validate it, it should fail. Okay, see, it's failing because it's saying that this element has no connections, and so that's the issue. But if you see that I'm sorry, so okay, so if you see here that I have so many variables already, but still it's not complaining. Why? Because in VXML, if you like in your local testing when you're doing, and if you want to, there is a complex flow, or there are a lot of menus that you don't want to hear, or prompts that you don't want to hear, because you just want to test a particular condition, then there is a way by which you can skip those things. It is called orphan. Okay, so let me show you. So for example, let's say I don't want to hear this pp all the time at test. Okay, so I just right click on this. I can say skip as orphaned. Okay, what will happen is it will actually skip this pp. Okay, so but in this case there is a connectivity, so I'll simply go and I'll say skip exit as done. So what will happen, it will always went through this as done. This is useful, that if I want to skip this, because so that's the thing I did for all these elements that you see in here. I made them orphan. So if I right click here and I say don't skip, so you'll see the element is back here. Okay, debug is running, so let me close this. And now, yeah, so application modifier, this is a great thing. Okay, so throughout, whenever I have used Cisco, I have always used Java to do what application modifier does. But if you don't want to use Java, you can do it with the application modifier element. What you can do is you can modify a lot of values, like maintainer is, when you create the app, you specify the maintainer, like you specify your email address, or you specify your name. But let's say in the middle of the call flow you want to change the maintainer. Okay, so you can call this element, and you can specify the value of the maintainer. It will actually override the value of the maintainer that you have set earlier. From the language, you can change the language, you can change the encoding, you can change the default audio path, or you can remove any data from the session. Okay, so you can do a lot of things. This can be done in Java also, but we have used, but you can also use this one. Okay, now there is something called currency. Okay, so we actually saw, we can collect numbers, we can collect options, multiple menu options. The same way we can collect currency. So if you just want to create collect currency from the user. Okay, so you can see here is in the input mode is both. It will accept both voice. Both means it will accept both voice and DTMF. If you just want to accept voice, you can change it to voice or DTMF. Okay, and you'll see that we don't specify anything other than that. You can specify the audio that you want to play here. If you want to create any data, you can do that. And if you want to handle any event or create any event, if you want this to throw an event, you can also do that. Okay, we will be having a separate video on event, so don't worry. Okay, now, so in the currency, you can actually accept currency. So if there is a flow where you, like in our application itself, if you want to, it's a banking application where if somebody wants to deposit the money, we can, and so we need to ask them like how much money you want to deposit, and they will speak a currency. So in that case you can use currency. Then there is something called date also. Okay, so if you want to collect the date, you can use date. So these two are a important one, but we are not going to see this. But if you need them, we can create another video. Now there is something called transfer. Okay, so this is interesting. So most of the time when you call the IVR, and if you feel that the IVR is not giving me the answer I'm looking for, we always say that I want to talk to a live person. Okay, so transfer is something which will do that. So in the transfer, you will see, you will specify the number. okay, and the type, it could be a telephone or it could be SIP. Okay, if you want to transfer to SIP, you can do that. And then the connect timeout. So connect timeout is, how much time you are going to the maximum time in seconds the voice element is allowed to wait for an answer. Like it's not going to keep on ringing, it will just ring for a minute, and if nobody answers, then it will disconnect. Okay, max transfer time. Okay, and then bridge, this is important one. Okay, so what is bridge is actually that you can set it to true or false. So if bridge is true, that means it's a bridge transfer. If bridge is false, that means it's a blind transfer. Yeah, it's a blind transfer. What is blind transfer? So when I say that I want to talk to a particular number, okay, I want to transfer, so what happens that the system makes an outbound call to that number, and once the number get connected, okay, so it will disconnect the call, the first call, and it will connect the first call on that line. So actually the control goes from the CVP, and only one line is engaged. But in case of bridge transfer, what happens, there is an outbound call to that number, okay, and then once that call is connected, then both the calls are running at the same time and both the calls are connected. So we are using two separate lines in this case. That's the disadvantage, but the advantage is when you are done talking to the live person, you can still continue. But in case of blind transfer, when you are done, once you are done with the live person, you cannot go back to the application. Okay, so that's the thing. Okay, if you want to play any audio while the call is being transferred, you can specify the audio. And AI stand for application, application to application transfer, something, where you can transfer the data, a string containing data sent to an application on the far end. Okay, so if you want to send any data, you can do this, and with this. And you can also specify some VXML properties. That's not something we are going to cover. So there are a lot of VXML properties. If you want to specify anything, you can specify here in the value of it. Okay, now uh, if you want to call a database, you can use this element. Let me quickly show you. So here you can specify the JNDI name, the type. Okay, like it's a single, multiple, insert, update, whatever you want to do. And you can specify the your SQL query here, results at XML, everything. So this is how you can simply call a database if you don't want to write a Java. Okay, of course there is an alternative, you can write Java for everything. I prefer writing Java, but if you don't want to write Java, you can do this with this element, database. Okay, so we covered database and transfer, so I will simply delete them for now. Then the FTP client, if you want to upload anything to the FTP, that can be done with this one. Okay, so let me show you. Okay, so as you can see here, we specify the name of the file to be transferred. Now you here also you use session data, because you don't want, because the name of the file can change. Okay, let's say you are recording. Okay, and there is an element called record. Okay, so you can actually record the voice. Now after recording the voice, you want to upload that thing to a particular location via FTP. Okay, so that the name of the file will be different all the time. You cannot hardcode this, so you can set the name of this file in a session, and then you can say just pick it from the session, and then upload it, and then you can specify the FTP server details. Okay, if you want to call a REST client, okay, so in calling REST, whether it's a get call or a post call or a put delete, you can specify it here. You can specify the endpoint URL, okay, and all the details, the header and everything. So without writing Java, you can simply call it here. Then you can insert a VXML. Now I so there are two things. Here we call the VXML, and it was a sub dialog call. But if you want to call VXML within, now why will you want to do that? Okay, or you might ask me that, Gagan, why will I call a VXML if I can develop it? The reason being, let's assume that you have a VXML which is in used, which is in productions since many years, and that is working flawlessly. There is nothing to change there. Okay, now what you can do is you can rewrite the whole VXML in the Cisco. Okay, that's one approach. Or you can say that that's already working, so I will write everything apart from the logic which is working. So you wrote some logic outside of that VXML, and then you will simply insert that VXML in the call flow. So you'll say that call that VXML, execute everything whatever is there in the VXML, and then come back. Okay, this is not a sub dialog call, this is something. So if you can actually insert a VXML in the call flow, so this is different from a sub dialog call. Okay, so here if you see here, you can specify the source. So here you will give the like from where it will fetch the vxml, okay, and then the exit state. So let's say the vxml can go to multiple places. Like vxml can call, let's say one vxml was calling 4 vxml. So what you can do is, if there are 4 exit states, you can specify the 4 exit states which is coming from the vxml, and then you can go to the next call flow here, okay. You can also set the data, get the data here, okay. Then video connect, I, to be honest, I never use this guy video connect. How exactly it works, even I am curious to see how exactly it works, but maybe someday later, not today. Record we already discussed. Alert, okay, this is also good. I personally have never used it, but after reading about it, I got to know that you can actually, if you want to, if there is a, it's kind of setting an alarm, okay. Like if the application fails, or if there is something super critical that you want to tell the system admin, you're gonna start logging that in the system log, okay, SNMP log. So that's what I believe it does, but I'm not sure. Never used it. And then remaining is the form one. Now form is another, now form is nothing but a menu, okay, but the difference but the form is something which is more robust, because in form you can specify grammars, okay. So you saw that when I said I want to collect number, there was something written for number. When I say I want to collect digit, I want to collect time, I want to collect currency, there are different elements were there, okay. But if I want to create something which is super dynamic, which can connect which can collect anything. I mean, it can collect date from me, it can collect currency from me, from in a single element. I want to collect everything. In that case, I can use a simple form, and I can specify an external grammar. So when I specify external grammar, it will capture the things based on the grammar, okay. Now this is something we need to create a separate video on how the form works. Absolutely, it is a need, it is must, because this is the mostly used element in the call flow, okay. So and a few things that I wanted to discuss is hot event and hot link. So when we'll discuss the form, we will also cover hot event and hot link, and I believe with that we will be done with the elements. So this was kind of a miscellaneous video in this series. And once done, we will switch to Java. I'll show you some examples, like whatever we have done in front end, how easily we can do it in Java. How can we create custom elements in Java, and we can use those custom element as a reusable elements in Cisco. So there is a lot more great stuff coming. Let me know if you're liking this series. Thank you so much.